So I am Jennifer Gerstel, and I'm Joe's mom, and I'm also one of the organizers of the Try for Joe race. I think the biggest organizer is Joe's dad, Tom, but together as a family we organized the Try for Joe. Joe was born in August of 2003, and the first Try for Joe was in May of 2005. So Joe had just been born, and they suspected he had Down syndrome. We were shocked because I was 31, I'd had a healthy pregnancy, and so there was no reason to think that anything would be different than we expected. And I think at the time it was hard to really think about the Down syndrome because the heart defect was such an immediate problem. We went to a lot of different meetings through the Down Syndrome Association. We got a lot of support. So, we made it through those first hard days, I think, by sticking together. The first day Joe was born, I think I was just stunned with the diagnosis, and Tom was, I don't know how, he was like thinking ahead and already thinking how we could turn this into something positive. So it was like the first or second day, and Tom said, I think we should do a race to raise money for the Down Syndrome Association. So he had this vision right away of a race, a triathlon, and it was always his hope that Joe would participate, but at that time we, weren't even sure if Joe would make it. It felt a little bit crazy to me that he was thinking about this, but in looking back, it was such a hopeful, optimistic thing to plan, and I think it was a big part of what kept us going, early on, just dreaming and thinking of the day when, he could possibly be an athlete in his own race. So it was pretty awesome, and really it was all Tom, because I thought he was just nuts. But he started planning immediately. He started getting in touch with different venues where he thought would be a good place for the race, and he knew of a race management company who helps put these things together, and so he got in touch with them and he started planning it. The race is a triathlon, which is swim, bike, run, and a duathlon, which is run, bike, run, and then a 5K run or walk. So those are the three major events. There's also a kids fun run. So it started out small and sort of grassroots, and it was mainly family and friends who participated, along with, since I'm a school teacher, a lot of my students and colleagues came, and Joe's therapist, his cardiologist. Gosh, I think about 7 years of us organizing it. We had monthly meetings around our dining room table at home to plan everything. After so many years of doing it, we got the Down Syndrome Association. They took over because it had grown to the level where we just needed more help with putting it together every year. And so they sort of took over with us still being heavily involved, but it was nice for them to then use their network, their wider network of the tri-state area, to get volunteers and to get sponsors and for advertising and things like that. The first years it was at Coney Island, so they gave that to us for free and opened their doors up a week early before the pool opened to the public. But then the race just got too big for even them, and eventually moved it out to the Claremont County YMCA. And so now the funds benefit programs for people with disabilities at the YMCA there. It's not a stringent environment. People just come to participate for fun. There are some serious triathletes, but we have a lot of first-time triathletes who come participate. And it's also great because a lot of the kids from local swim teams come, and it's sometimes their first triathlon, but they want to come and support Joe. And then a lot of younger athletes who hear about it, again, in our community, in the school system, who have never tried a 5K or a duathlon, will come out and do it. And there's also a relay version, so we saw a lot of families participating together, father-son teams or mother-daughter teams. And So that's been really fun to see as well. And we have a lot of people who come out over and over again. You know, it's got a really upbeat energy to the race, and you know, there's chip timers and everything that a typical triathlon would have, but the environment is more about kind of celebration of Joe's life rather than being a hardcore, you know, I'm going to beat everyone type of environment. So I think it's a really positive, fun place for people to come together and sort of kick off their exercise season in the spring. In all the years of Try for Joe, we've raised over $250,000. All of that money that we raised went to benefit the New Baby program at the Down Syndrome Association. We really wanted to give back to the Down Syndrome Association for all that they did for us.
And it's really good for exercising and all these training to get support.
So I think that's been the impact in the community, and I think also it's just raised some awareness in the community about Down syndrome. And you know, I think that seeing Joe participate has really had a big impact on people. I think that some people have an idea of people with disabilities and what they can do and what they can't do, and Joe is an inspiration. He participates in an unmodified race, and he does well, and he high-fives people, and he cheers people on as he's racing himself. And I think it really gives quite a boost to athletes who maybe at that moment are feeling like they can't go any further, but here comes Joe and he's still chugging along, so they realize that they can do it.
My name is Joe Gosko. So I went to Nagel, and I just meet all of my new friends about them, and they're really kind about me though, and I really enjoy to try for Joe.
At first, I think the diagnosis and future outlook was so unknown to us that it was hard to feel like everything would be okay. And you know, now we look back and think that was kind of crazy to think that way, but I think when the future feels uncertain, it's easy to see how families feel that way at first, but it's really been special.